Many thanks for joining us for this edition of Channel 1 Lunchtime News on this first day of April 2020. My name is Edward Kabasa. Our sign language interpreter this afternoon is Lucy Mora. You can interact with us throughout this live broadcast at KBC Channel 1 on Twitter at Edward Kabasa or at Ed Kabasa on Twitter as well. And on Facebook, it's KBC Channel 1. Maendeleo ya Wanawake Organization is calling on Kenyan women to adhere to government regulations and help in the war against coronavirus pandemic. The organization's chairperson, Rahab Mwikali, said women are custodians of their families and it is paramount that they strictly observe the laid down hygiene regulations to defeat the virus.
Have you ever seen a world like this?
Maendeleo ya Wanawake Organization is challenging women not to lower the guard, but be in the forefront to help the government fight the coronavirus pandemic.
As mothers, we are the custodians of the families and communities. I therefore call on all Maendeleo elected leaders and members and women of Kenya from the wards, sub-counties and counties alike to be at the forefront in observing the social distancing and promoting the hard hygiene as stipulated by the Ministry of Health.
The organization says families are now at risk and the virus is threatening all the sectors of the social fabric, which requires every Kenyan to play a critical role to defeat the enemy.
I'm urging all Kenyans, all women in Kenya, to ensure that they take this opportunity to till their land and plant the food crops in their fields.
So we also plead the mamas to understand that it is for their safety to stay home, not to go to the markets. It's not just the government saying shut the markets, because some of those markets carry about 3,000-4,000 people. You can imagine the danger that can be imposed.
The chairperson of the organization, Rahab Muiu, says women must claim the rightful position in society and lead families in keeping hygiene and social distancing for the sake of the children.
It is incumbent on all of us to protect ourselves and those around us. Women as mothers are the first doctors at home, and it is our time now to make sure high hygiene is maintained. This will go a long way in flattening the curve.
Muio called on women to remain vigilant, embrace hand washing, stay at home, and educate families on the need to reduce physical contacts to keep off the virus.
To the younger generation, I wish to urge you to take this virus very seriously and know that these are extraordinary times calling for extraordinary adjustments to the lifestyles we are accustomed to.
She's also appealing to the government to shut down all barber shops and saloons to minimize movement and contacts.
These barber shops you are telling me, if I had a choice, will close everything. For the next 3 weeks, if I were the one to now say it, I would say, Your Excellency, lock this place up.
Let's now cross over to Delta House, where the Council of Governors, led by the chairperson Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya, has been giving the country its update on weekly preparedness to handle the outbreak of the coronavirus. Let us listen in.
I think that has been substantially implemented. Sawa?
About the additional human resource.
Additional what?
Human resource.
Yes.
And the recruitment of health workers.
Yes.
Is there budget for this? When will the recruitment begin? And also, what will you do to ensure that they have enough safe facilities? Because that's the fight of health workers.
I have said, in addition to the staff interns that were given by the national government, we were given interns under the UHC. That has nothing to do with this other additional staff. This additional staff that we are requesting, they are specifically for COVID-19 emergency. There are 6,656 identified from each county in various cadres. This one, we have agreed from yesterday, recruitment should start immediately. As we talk now, Now recruitment has started. Because we do not want to wait for money to come, is when we start recruitment. That will waste a lot of time. So already recruitment has started. The money will flow to the counties, and you can remember the president has released around 1 billion for that purposes. But the money has not started flowing to the counties. So in terms of staff, if we recruit the 6,000, then I think we will be somewhere where you can say we can deal with this disease.
And details of that will be available to you in our subsequent bulletins and on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. Kilifi County Government is in the process of mobilizing 8.4 million shillings from both the county government and non-government organizations in the area to help finance the county's emergency COVID-19 social relief program for 3 months. Part of the resources will be sourced from the scaled-down 2019-2020 budget, according to Area Governor Amason Kingi.
Kilifi County is now ranked the second after Nairobi to have reported more cases of the coronavirus pandemic. To tackle the possible upsurge of such cases, the county is seeking to mobilize resources to a tune of 8.4 million shillings from institutions operating in the area to help in the war against the virus. Speaking after conducting a meeting through an online platform, Area Governor Amason Kingi says 2.2 million shillings will be mopped up from the 2019-2020 budget, which has been scaled down to help in financing the war against the pandemic. The governor and the CC members are still in quarantine after they came in direct contact with Kilifi Deputy Governor Gideon Saburi, who tested positive of the virus.
Let us look at the global perspective now. The United Nations has warned that the coronavirus pandemic is the worst crisis to face the world since World War II. This as the number of deaths in the United States of America surpassed that in China. The U.S. announced some 800 deaths on Tuesday, bringing the total number to more than 3,700 as Spain, the United Kingdom and France reported their largest single-day increase in deaths to date. China has reported 3,282 deaths from COVID-19, the disease caused by the virus.
Around the globe, nearly 860,000 people have been with the coronavirus and at least 178,000 have recovered, according to Johns Hopkins University. More than 42,000 people have died. U.S. President Donald Trump finally warning of cruel weeks ahead in one of the most chilling White House moments in modern history. Even with blanket nationwide adoption of stringent mitigation efforts, between 100,000 and 240,000 Americans could face death in the coming weeks in a cascading nationwide ordeal, according to modeling explained by senior members of the President's Emergency Task Force Tuesday. The German government has asked the public to refrain from joking about the coronavirus on April Fool's Day, declaring that corona is no joke. Japan remains on the brink of an emergency as the numbers of coronavirus infections continue to increase. Tokyo reported 78 new cases on Tuesday, in the capital's highest single-day increase. Britain is planning to open a 4,000-bed-filled hospital in what could be the biggest intensive care unit in the country as cases continue to rise. Regionally, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has announced 11 new COVID-19 cases in the country, who include members of the famous Watoto Children's Choir. In a live televised address on Tuesday night, his second in as many days, Museveni said some members of the choir had been quarantined after returning from a trip abroad. He did not give details on their condition. Former president of French football club Olympique Marseille, Pape Diop, has died after contracting coronavirus, the first death in Senegal from the pandemic. The 68-year-old man was being treated at Fan Hospital in the capital. Meanwhile, Burundi and Sierra Leone, which were part of a handful of African countries yet to confirm cases of the coronavirus, have reported their first positive results. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News.
You are watching Channel 1 Lunchtime News. A quick break here. We'll be back with more.
Tangu mwishoni mwa mwaka jana, homa ya virusi vya corona yaani COVID-19 imeibuka kuwa tisho kubwa la kiafya. Maambukizi ya homa hii yameenea ulimwenguni kote.
Next on.
Masudi.
Naam.
Kwani mwanaume akipenda huwa yukoje? Labda mimi ndio sielewi eti. Unaona kwani mpewa talaka?
Wewe mimi nikaamua kurudi shule. Niko shule.
Wewe si tulikuja nikaa yako juzi tu.
Kuchunguza sana.
Mwanamume akipenda huwa na furaha na nguvu na bashasha sio zinatabasamu.
Jamani.
Alafu tujani kazi zenu
On the next episode of Elena's Ghost.
Why are you crying?
Because I know you're going to get mad.
But why? Why would I get mad if what happened to you is very good?
Calm down. I will help you out with anything that I can. But we need to make sure that Eduardo doesn't suspect the child you're having is his.
You sometimes forget who I am, Monte Cristo. My eyes can see deeper than that. Much deeper than what the common man can see every day.
It's coming to 1:15. A very good afternoon to you. If you're just joining us, this is Channel 1 Lunchtime News. My name is Edward Kabasa. The Catholic bishops of Kenya have urged other religious leaders and faith-based communities to fully cooperate with government directive on the war against the coronavirus pandemic. Bishop Joseph Obanyi says church leaders should not endanger community members by attempting to congregate, violating the social distancing directive. Bishop Obanyi also criticized police officers who are using force to enforce the curfew.
Mwongozo umetolewa, umewapa mapadre na wote viongozi wa kanisa waziwazi nini wanatakiwa wafanye. Na kwa hivyo ikiwa kuna jambo lolote ambalo kuna yule ambaye anakiuka, hilo litachunguzwa. Lakini inasikitisha ya kwamba hawa Wakenya ambao pia wanahangaika kwa njia nyingi, polisi wanaweza tena kuhangaisha vile tulivyoona, na kama kanisa tungependa kuona lile jambo tena, kwa sababu hawa Wakenya wanahitaji kuambiwa ukweli, na vile vyombo vya habari mnavyofanya wanajaribu kushika, lakini kidogo ni lazima wawe na subira nao badala ya kuwapiga, kwa sababu wanaumizwa na ili janga, wanaumizwa na uchumi, tena wanaumizwa na polisi. Hiyo haitakuwa vizuri. Kwa hivyo tunasema polisi wajizuie katika kuhangaisha na kuwapiga Wakenya vile tulivyoona huko Mombasa.
A family in Karura village, Kiambu County, is appealing for help in finding their son who has been missing since February this year. They claim David Mario was forcibly whisked away from home on 27 February by men who claimed to be police officers attached to the Ruiru police station. A month later, his whereabouts still remain unknown, with this family now accusing the police of dragging their feet in probing the matter. This family in Karura village, Kiambu County, wants answers, and they want them now. It has been a month of sleepless nights for Stephen Dungu and Susan Yuki after their son David Morio went missing.
Kuna watu walikuja hapa wakijiita polisi, na wakakuja wakachukua kijana yangu, na mimi nikawauliza wanamchukulia nini. Hawakuniongelesha, wakaniambia ni kimya, hawataki mambo mingi. Nikawaambia nipatie contact, wakaniambia niache mambo mingi, halafu wakaenda na yeye.
Na wakati tumefuatilia hiyo mambo kutoka Ndenderu kwenda Ndenderu, tukaambiwa huyo mtu amechukuliwa na polisi wa Ruiru. Sisi tukaenda Ruiru, tukakutana na DCI wa huko Ruiru, akatuambia hakuna mtu ameshika. Akatuambia tukuje tuende mpande ya Karuri. Tukaenda tukakutana na huyo DCI. Huyo DCI inaonekana akatuambia tena turudi huko pande ya Ndenderu tuandike OB. Na wakati tuliandika hiyo OB tena tukarudi kwake. Lakini wakati tunajaribu kumuuliza maneno vile iko, Yeye anatupeleka hivi, inaonekana kuna mambo anajua, lakini yeye anaficha.
The couple is accusing the police of laxity in investigations and withholding information about the identity of the men who took Muriu away on that fateful Thursday. Until his disappearance, Muriu had worked as a casual laborer. The police have denied involvement in his disappearance. His family is appealing to the authorities to do everything possible to help them establish his whereabouts. Landlords and Tenants Association of Kenya (LATEC) has urged landlords to offer rent waiver for 3 months following the economic disruption caused by the coronavirus pandemic. LATEC has further urged the government to assist landlords service loans to get a 6-month moratorium from commercial banks.
Briefing with Matatu and Bodaboda Operators Federation of Kenya, the association secretary general Ben Liai urged landlords to waiver the rent of April, May and June.
There should be a waiver for rents for the months of April, May and June, so that this common wananchi can actually work on putting food on the table.
LATAC also urging the government to order all financial institutions to consider a 6 to 12 months moratorium to all landlords servicing loans.
The government should come out and give them a 6 months moratorium so that at least they can have that humble time also to put food on the table. Now that they're not going to get the income for the month of April, May and June.
The Matatu operators calling on the state to consider reducing levies on fuel by at least 50% and reconsider parking fees.
We are already adhering to the rules of the 1 meter rule, and you are providing the sanitizers and providing the masks. Then why don't you reduce on the fuel, reduce on the insurance premiums, scrap totally the parking fees for the county.
Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
The government has moved to quell fears among members of the public that the fight against desert locusts has been neglected due to the focus on the coronavirus epidemic. Speaking in Isiolo during the Desert Locust Master Trainers Workshop, the Administration Secretary in the State Department of Crop Development, Arsama Kello, affirmed the campaign to eradicate the destructive insects was still ongoing.
The government maintains the fight against desert locusts is still on course despite the current health threat posed by coronavirus. Agricultural officers from 27 counties grappling with the locust menace met to deliberate on how to sustain the campaign.
Kampeni ya coronavirus haija overshadow locust. Kazi ya locust campaign inaendelea vile mnaona saa hizi hapa. Tunaendelea kupiga na madawa kila pahali. Operation yetu inaendelea kama kawaida.
The Administration Secretary in the State Department of Crop Development, Arsama Kello, says the training is being conducted in 2 shifts to ensure social distancing is observed. Arsama said that the Department of Crop Development has made arrangement with the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government so that the personnel involved in the spraying of desert locusts are not affected by the dusk to dawn curfew.
Tunafanya juhudi zote kuhakikisha kwamba hizi nzige zimepotea kabisa katika Kenya. Kumbuka mara ya mwisho locusts zimeonekana hapa Kenya ni miaka 70 iliyopita. Kwa hivyo maofficers wa counties na wengine wengi hawana maarifa ya kutosha ya kupambana na nzige hizi.
Arsama said the capacity building training will pave way for the recruitment of more agricultural officers from the affected areas.
Tunawatrain, tunawapea maarifa ya kutumia madawa ya kupambana na hawa nzige. Pia ningependa kuongeza na kusema kwamba tumepata magari 10 kutoka FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization ya United Nations ambayo pia zitatumiwa kupigana na hawa nzige.
A second generation of dreaded insect is already causing havoc on vegetation in several parts of the country, as eggs laid by the first generation have hatched into nymphs. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kipnoso.
A section of elders from Tenges Ward, Baringo Central, are up in arms with private developers who they claim have grabbed a piece of land set aside for the construction of a police station. The elders claim the original owners of the land in Mushungoi area were compensated by the government 35 years ago after their land was mapped for the construction of a police station.
A land tussle between private developers and a group of elders in Baringo County continues to deepen, with the elders now accusing the developers of taking the advantage of the coronavirus pandemic in the country to further their activities by encroaching the government land.
Wanatakia kitu ya bure. Hakuna kitu ya bure hata kidogo. Hii area ya serikali. Kama mtu ambaye alishindwa kupata plot zamani, atafuta mahali ingine ya kununua. Si hapa hata kidogo.
Wao watu ambao walikuja kunyakua hii sehemu ya serikali, tafadhali hata wangehamishwa hata usiku huu na serikali waweke in ofisi yao hapa.
For the last two years, kuna encroachers, kuna land grabbers wamegrab hapa na wamegawanya. Wakati wa Disemba waligawanya hapa wakafunga hii sengenge. Alafu wakati wa hii coronavirus recess, tunaona wamekuja kubomoa hizi manyumba.
Another elder, William Kibitu Itoe, claims that a part of land was his and he was compensated, and therefore want the private developers dealt with by full force of law.
Hii shamba iliombwa na waongozi sababu ile shamba ya senda ilikuwa kidogo sana. Alafu wakatuambia tubeane hii shamba iwekwe ma officers au plots ya county hii. Na alafu tukahamishwa tukapewa shamba ngine patala ya hii shamba tukapewa huko Machongoi. Alafu hii shamba ikatokea ikagawanywa sasa. Sehemu ambao iko matata sasa hii ilikuwa sehemu ya serikali.
Kwa hivyo wale ambao wanafikiria ya kwamba ni yao ni mchezo ya mpira. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo hata kidogo. Mimi ni mzee, nimekaa mimi mzee ya miaka 95. Na kwa hakika mimi nasema mambo ya haki. Siwezi kusema mambo ya ukora hata kidogo.
While condemning the grabbing, Tenges Ward Member of County Assembly Silas Tochim promised legal action will be taken against the developers who are using the name of the late former President Moi to advance their criminal activities.
Our grabbers wanachificha wakisema hii shamba ni ya mzee Moi, lakini familia Moi wamesema hii shamba hatujui. Hata senator mwenyewe ameongea na yeye, amesema we have no records kwamba hiyo shamba ni yetu. Number 2, these subdivisions ambazo ziko hapa are illegal. Haijakuwa approved kwa county. We've not seen them. Wamegawanya na wamesubdivide and it is illegal. Kwa hivyo nataka kutoa onyo kwa wale ambao wanafanya hii kazi. Sisi tunaheshimu serikali kwa sababu ya hii shida ya corona. We are on recess na hatutaki watu waingilie kuiba shamba ya serikali wakati tuko kwa hii shida ya corona.
Ben Chumba reporting for Channel 1 News.
And with that story from Tenges in Baringo County, we take our second break. When we come back, business news.
Coronavirus COVID-19 is a respiratory virus spreading across the world. The infection is spread from droplets of coughing and sneezing of an infected person, touching or shaking hands, or being in contact with contaminated surfaces or objects with the virus. The signs and symptoms are fever, coughing, headache, body ache, difficulty in breathing. The disease can be prevented by regularly washing hands with soap and running water. Avoid close contact with people who have flu-like symptoms. Avoid handshake, hugs, and kissing. Also, protect yourself by covering your mouth or nose using a disposable tissue while coughing or sneezing. If you experience these symptoms and you had traveled or been in contact with a person from a country reporting COVID-19, you should isolate yourself for 14 days. Dial *719# or call 719. This message has been brought to you by the Government of Kenya and its partners.
Thank you very much for keeping us company. Let us now cruise over to business matters, and we will be listening in to the Industrialization Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina, who is issuing an update on the government's preparedness as far as industrialization is concerned. Of course, the topic here is coronavirus.
In and implemented social distancing and other measures, hand washing, and also people walking away from from the office where they don't need to. These measures around fighting coronavirus is also providing an opportunity for Kenyan businesses to create products that can be utilized in the fight. We have seen an increase in production of hand sanitizers by Kenyan companies, and that is very, very exciting. Small and medium enterprises are rising up to do this, and I want to just acknowledge this effort by Kenya, by our micro and small enterprises and all our enterprises to ensure that the country can be self-sufficient in dealing with these products. As announced on Sunday, many of our manufacturers and SMEs have gone a notch higher in also supporting government in ensuring self-sufficiency with regard to PPEs. And the firms in EPZs and micro enterprises and local textile mills have cranked up production of masks and starting Monday. And we confirm that the country has got capacity to produce more than 1 million masks a day, working in medium enterprises as well as in the EPZs. And many other Kenyan firms are reaching out to ensure that they also participate in this search for a solution within the country. We have had meetings with the Ministry of Health, who have given us their specifications for these PPEs, and our manufacturers are now all consulting with the relevant regulatory bodies, especially the Bureau of Standards, to ensure that we can manufacture these goods. So as we start our production process, we really want to encourage all manufacturers, all SMEs to get guidance for the requirements from the Kenya Bureau of Standards. And for those who are innovating and looking at developing these products within the country, they can also get guidance from the Kenya Industrial and Development Research Institute to support them in the delivery of these products. It is important to stress that we must produce quality products that meet the requirements of the Ministry of Health. According to the Standards Act, no person shall manufacture or sell any commodity, method or procedure to which the relevant specification or code of practice relates unless it complies with that specification or code of practice. In addition, to guard against the misuse of the standards mark as enshrined under Section 10(6), no person shall apply a standardization mark to any commodity except under a permit issued by the Bureau or a person acting under the authority of the Bureau of Standards. So it is really important that as we crank up this production, we must ensure that all our enterprises are meeting the prescribed standards. And to this end, we have directed the Bureau of Standards and the Bureau of Standards and the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, the Department of Weights and Measures, the Kenya Consumer Protection Committee, and also the Kenya Industrial Research and Development Institute to support all our enterprises in ensuring that they are compliant as they manufacture these goods. As a ministry, we will continue to actively monitor the happenings in the country to ensure that all of us are observing fair trade practices and consumer protection even as we go through these very difficult times. We therefore also want to remind the business community that our emergency business response center is up and running. We have received many concerns from business operators and also from the general public, and this we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. You can contact us by calling the hotline, and the number, I repeat again, is 1109220066. Our email address is advisorycenter@trade.go.ke. The hotline for any reporting any concerns with the performance of businesses is 1109220066. We all seek to defeat the coronavirus in the country. Even as we seek to find solutions, it is really important that we all religiously practice the protocols that have been given to us by the Ministry of Health. And I'd like to repeat that the best way to defeat this virus is by really diligently observing hand washing regimes every time you get out into a place or get home, social distancing and avoiding of crowds, and wearing masks when going outside our homes and as we engage with strangers. As we go about our daily business, let's have the welfare of other Kenyans in our minds. And for businesses, we really encourage our businesses to observe ethical business practice because no business can really thrive in a sick nation. Thank you very much.
That is the Trade and Industrialization Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina giving the country just an update on what her ministry is doing to ensure that Kenya is staying on track when it comes to matters dealing with the coronavirus. Of course, she has commended the SMEs and the manufacturing sector for doing everything possible to ensure that Kenyans have access to products such as hand sanitizers. Let us take a look at other matters now. Fresh produce farmers are calling on the government to consider waiving some levies for some time to keep them afloat at a time when lockdown in Europe markets has slashed exports. Led by Ruby Ranch proprietor Edward Burrell, the farmers say cargo flight charges have tripped in the last 1 month due to a reduction in frequencies by airlines.
Countries in the recent weeks have been implementing partial and total lockdowns in effort to contain the spread of coronavirus pandemic. This has hurt tourism and aviation sectors, which players forced to drastically scale down or temporarily suspend operations. Amongst those directly affected by the lockdowns are vegetable and fruit farmers in Kenya, who mainly rely on Europe as their main market.
Nimekuja hapa Naivasha juu ya kazi. Sasa kazi yenyewe hata tunaifanya tuna wasiwasi. Juu hata kwa gari tumepunguzwa, tunapewa tukae distance. Sasa hata hiyo distance imetuletea shida juu. Tulikuwa tunasafiri tukiwa 260, sasa tunakuja 30.
He says fresh produce farmers are facing challenges shipping out vegetables and fruits since airlines have reduced cargo flights, resulting in cargo flight charges tripling.
Tulikuwa tunategemea ndege za British Airways na Kenya Airways wamefunga. Na ukiangalia kama ni bei kwa kilo, kusafirisha kilo moja ya mzigo ya chakula Kenya Airways na British Airways ilikuwa nalipisha sisi $1.50. Leo hii ukitaka kusafirisha hiyo mzigo hiyo kilo moja na ndege kama Emirates ama Qatar inalipisha $4.50. Kwa hivyo faida yote ya mkulima imeenda, na nikusema ya kwamba kama hakuna faida ni kusema lazima sasa tutafunga shamba ama na watu watakosa kazi.
The state of affairs has seen farms reduce production capacities that has resulted to some workers sent home. They say there is still demand for Kenyan produce in, amongst other markets, the UK, Sweden and Russia. Fiona Shuru for Channel 1 Business News.
Kenyans have started paying a lower value-added tax rate of 14% that was implemented Wednesday. The law allows National Treasury Cabinet Secretary to effect tax changes of up to 25% without approval from Parliament. And as Betty Kiptum reports, other tax measures such as lower income tax announced in March are expected to be ratified by the National Assembly during a special sitting slated for next week.
The cost of commodities and services have slightly reduced following implementation of the 14% VAT on Wednesday, down from the previous rate of 16%. Under President Uhuru Kenyatta's economic stimulus plan to reduce the effect of the pandemic, that is the COVID-19 pandemic, was to reduce the VAT tax from 16% to about 14%. This was to take effect on 1st of April 2020 midnight. But until now, this is yet to be ratified by the National Assembly, whose majority leader has called for a special sitting next week. What will happen to the VAT reduction? Will it be reduced now, or we have to wait for the National Assembly to ratify it?
The VAT rate is ineffective. It's already 14%. This is because the VAT Act 2013 allows the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury to amend the VAT rate by up to 25%. So the Cabinet Secretary can amend the rate between 12% to 20%, subject to confirmation of Parliament.
The aim of the lower VAT was to give Kenyans a stronger financial capability to counter a slow economy.
So if you reduce the rate of tax on goods and services, then the price of goods and services is also likely to go down. So you can expect that for products that have been subject to VAT, like manufactured goods, some of the manufactured foodstuffs.
The cost of commodities and services have slightly reduced following implementation of the 14% VAT on Wednesday, down from the previous rate of 16%. Under President Uhuru Kenyatta's economic stimulus plan to reduce the effect of the pandemic, that is the COVID-19 pandemic, was to reduce the VAT tax from 16% to about 14%. This was to take effect on 1st of April 2020 midnight. But until now, this is yet to be ratified by the National Assembly, whose majority leader has called for a special sitting next week. What will happen to the VAT reduction? Will it be reduced now, or we have to wait for the National Assembly to ratify it?
The VAT rate is ineffective. It's already 14%. This is because the VAT Act 2013 allows the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury to amend the VAT rate by up to 25%. So the Cabinet Secretary can amend the rate between 12% to 20%, subject to confirmation of Parliament.
The aim of the lower VAT was to give Kenyans a stronger financial capability to counter a slow economy.
So if you reduce the rate of tax on goods and services, then the price of goods and services is also likely to go down. So you can expect that for products that have been subject to VAT, like manufactured goods, some of the manufactured foodstuffs, the price is actually going to go down, and this will be a relief for consumers.
companies have started informing customers of the change in pricing. For instance, pay television company DSTV and GoTV have informed customers of lower pricing effective today. Safaricom has also told customers that airtime purchase will earn the customer 2% extra airtime. How about those who fail to implement the directive?
So everybody should be charging VAT at 14% as of now. If someone is charging 16, then they ought to know that that is against the law.
Unlike the VAT, however, other tax measures such as abolishing the 30% tax band will have to wait for the National Assembly's nod for implementation. Already, National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale has written to the Speaker to recall the House for a special sitting next Wednesday to consider, among others, the new tax measures.
There are no powers by the executive to vary the rates of income tax, both for corporations and for individuals, without going through Parliament. So when Parliament convenes next week, then I believe the issue of the corporate tax and the issue of the pay-as-you-earn will be, and turnover tax. Those will be high on the agenda of Parliament to pass through the requisite bill.
The 14% VAT is now in effect. You are supposed to be paying only 14% as opposed to the previous 16% that will hopefully put some more money in your pockets in these tough times of the COVID-19 pandemic. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 News.
Let's now cross our borders. Video conferencing app Zoom has come under fresh high-level scrutiny as its popularity soars during the coronavirus pandemic. But its data security and privacy measures have been questioned. New York's Attorney General has written to the firm, raising concern over its ability to cope with the rise in users. Here are details of this and other stories from across the globe.
Zoom is now being used by millions of people for work and leisure. As lockdowns are imposed in many countries, the letter from the office of New York Attorney General Letitia James asked Zoom whether it had reviewed its security measures since its popularity surged. It also pointed out that in the past, the app had been slow to address issues. Users have flocked to Zoom as governments around the world ordered large parts of their populations to stay at home to slow the spread of the virus. It is now ranked as number 2, number 1 app in the UK and US, respectively. More recently, the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson last week tweeted a picture of himself chairing a cabinet meeting using Zoom, leading to questions about how secure it was. Meanwhile, in an 8,000-square facility in the western Indian city of Pune, a bunch of young engineers are racing against time to develop a low-cost ventilator that could save thousands of lives in the coronavirus pandemic overwhelms the country's hospitals. These engineers from some of India's top engineering schools belong to a barely 2-year-old startup, which makes waterless robots that clean solar plants. India only has 48,000 ventilators. Nobody quite knows how many of these breathing assistance machines are working, but it is a fair assumption that all those available are being used in intensive care units on existing patients with other diseases. Finally, French supermarket retailer Carrefour and Uber Eats has announced a new delivery service aimed at helping Persians buy essential goods and food during the nationwide lockdown triggered by the coronavirus crisis. The service allows users to choose a Carrefour convenience store on the Uber Eats app or website, or dial by phone to order the products of their choice, including everyday grocery shopping as well as hygiene and cleaning products. Customers will also be able to get deliveries at home within 30 minutes on average by a delivery per person using the Uber Eats application and complying with health and safety guidelines laid out by the French government.
Let's take a look at sports news. Former Liverpool midfielder Jamie Redknapp insists Kevin De Bruyne is the best passer in the Premier League history and deserves to win the Player of the Season award. Redknapp, who has been an admirer of the 28-year-old since his days with Genk, says De Bruyne, playing as a winger previously, has aided him in his passing range.
Former Liverpool midfielder Jamie Redknapp says Kevin De Bruyne deserves to win the Player of the Season award, though his Manchester City side stumbled in the Premier League, sitting 25 points behind leaders Liverpool before football was put on hold due to coronavirus. The Belgian was the champion's outstanding performer, registering 16 assists. If the Premier League was to resume, he would need just 4 assists to match Thierry Henry's record of 20 in the 2002-2003 season. And Redknapp believes although Jordan Henderson and Sadio Mane have been key for table-topping Liverpool, De Bruyne will be his pick for the individual award. De Bruyne has enjoyed one of his best seasons at City this term, picking up 9 Man of the Match awards, more than any of his teammates. Though he may not end up a Premier League champion this season, 13 of the 27 previous winners of the PFA Player of the Year award have not been title winners. Meanwhile, World Soccer governing body FIFA is planning on offering assistance to the world football after the coronavirus pandemic plunged clubs and leagues into an unprecedented financial slump. The World Organization, which has $1.5 billion in reserve, say it is thinking over ways of assisting the global football community. FIFA had previously announced that it had created a working group aiding continental governing bodies with the impact of the coronavirus crisis, which led to the postponement of Euro 2020.
That does it for us for this edition of Channel 1 Lunchtime News. Many thanks for joining us. My name is Edward Kabasa. Our sign language interpreter has been Lucy Mora. Good afternoon.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika and